This is a super exciting video because today we're going to take a look at my brand new Western Mountaineering Astralite Top-quilt. What's up, YouTube hikers and virtual trail fam? Welcome to my channel, Everyday Backpacker. I'm Calman, and today I am super excited to introduce you to a piece of equipment that I am been waiting to try out for this new season. So one thing that I have been doing over the years has been gradually letting go of my tight grip around traditional backpacking strategies and equipment and easing my way into a much lighter and easier setup. And one of the things that I've kind of held on to the longest has been my traditional sleeping bag. For the longest time, I've used the Western Mountaineering Alpenlight sleeping bag, which is a 20-degree sleeping bag, 850 to 900 power downfill bag that has worked out really well for me, and I've really loved it. But when I found out that Western Mountaineering, a company that I really do like, was coming out with a Top-quilt, I got really excited and started saving up my money for it. And so it finally came in, and I am excited to try out my new Astralite Top-quilt. Now, this is one of two Top-quilts that are offered by Western Mountaineering. This particular one has a temperature rating of 26 degrees. Now, if you're not familiar with Western Mountaineering, they're a company based out of California. They're all handmade, and they don't use the traditional limit rating that most sleeping bags use. So usually if you get a bag that says it's rated to 15 degrees, what they mean is you can survive at that temperature, but you're not going to be comfortable. So you want to add about 10 degrees up in order to get to the comfort rating, or to the comfort rating. Western Mountaineering, on the other hand, uses a very conservative numbering system. And so generally speaking, it's about my experience that when they say the bag's going to be comfortable about 20 degrees, it's usually comfortable about 10 degrees, at least for me. So this one's being rated at 26 degrees. It's a pretty good chance I'll be able to use this most of my hiking season. So what is the difference between a quilt and a sleeping bag? The biggest thing is that a quilt doesn't have any zippers. It still pretty much is laid out very similarly to a sleeping bag. It still has a closed toe box, but up along the back of the sleeping bag is a split with straps. And this is where you slide the your sleeping pad. I'll show this a little bit better in detail in a little bit, but essentially it removes some of the heaviest hardware of a sleeping bag in order to get a much lighter weight. The weight on this thing is 19.3 ounces, which is amazingly light in comparison to my other sleeping bag, which is almost 2.5 pounds. So it's going to be a huge weight saving. I'm super excited to take a look at it, so go ahead and join me as I break down the function of the bag. So obviously one of the biggest advantages the Astralite Top-quilt is going to give me over my old sleeping bag is going to be weight. So as you can see, the Astralite weighs in at 19.3 pounds, give or take. Whereas my older Western Mountaineering Alpenlight weighs in at, so the Alpenlight comes in at 37.7 ounces, which is about 2.3 pounds. It's almost half the weight in the Top-quilt versus the full sleeping bag. All right, so another big advantage is going to be size. As you can see, the Top-quilt is significantly smaller when it's packed up than the full sleeping bag. Not to say that this is really big, but any kind of savings in size is going to be advantageous, especially on longer trips. As I said, I'm planning a trip this year that's going to be 7 days. And although I previously done 7-day trips a couple years ago, we had a resupply halfway through, so we only had to carry a few days worth of food at a time. This trip, we're going to have to carry our entire week's food, so any savings in size is definitely going to be advantageous. All right. So obviously before I purchased this, I did a little bit of research, and I looked it up, and I noticed that the sleeping bag that I got, which is dark gray, is different than the one that's actually shown on their website, which is a really light cream color. And I kind of was wondering about that, so I did a little bit of research, and I found, actually through a review on Andrew Skirka's website, that the original Astralite, when it came out last season, used a 7 denier shell fabric. In order for that 7 denier shell fabric to be sturdy enough, they actually had to treat it with a roll-on applicated sealant to basically help build that that strength. And what they found was, Western Mountaineering and Andrew Circa found, was that sealant caused a lot of condensation to form up inside the down sleeping bag, which obviously with down is a pretty big problem. So what Western Mountaineering did was they actually made some changes to it. And even though they haven't updated their website, that's the reason why it has a darker color, because it now uses a 12 denier shell fabric material. So obviously that's going to be a little bit heavier, not much, but basically it allows it to have that tensile strength without having to have the breathability issue that they had before. Another thing that I noticed in some of the photos that changed is they changed how the strap was done. So some people had some issues with the cumbersomeness of the strap and the toggles. So instead of using barrel toggles now, they're using a flat, releasable clip style, which makes things a little bit easier. And as you can see with a close-up of the strap here, this is the loop that the pad actually goes through, and then there's adjustable straps here on the side to kind of adjust the overlap and where the edge of the material falls on the pad. And then you'll see this is the smaller strap here. Again, it is adjustable, but this is what basically keeps the tension and keeps the bottom pad attached more or less underneath you so that it doesn't cause any draft points. So already Western Mountaineering has addressed some of the issues, and I believe the pad is going to perform a lot better. Now the last thing to consider with this Top-quilt is going to be the price. Now Western Mountaineering typically is a little bit higher priced than some of its competitors, and there's a few reasons for this. This particular quilt retails in at $420. That's a little higher than some of the competition. There's some reasons for that. One is each bag that they sell is handmade in San Jose, California, using premium quality materials, so highest quality down and highest quality face fabric that's available. They also have a lifetime guarantee and warranty. So everything is handled in store because it's the only store that they have. I've worked with this company. We've sold them since I started working at the shop, and I have yet to talk to a customer who has been dissatisfied with this product. In fact, I have used Western Mountaineering products for several years myself, and I have to admit I'm biased towards this company because I have had nothing but great results from them. All right, welcome to the floor of my gear lab, aka my apartment. I was planning actually on filming this outside. However, it being Montana, even though the weather is beautiful, the temperature is beautiful in the 40s, 50s, and the sun is out, decided to throw in some hurricane strength wind gusts. So wind does not do very well with microphones, hence we're filming inside once again. Hopefully very soon we'll be able to get out. But I'm gonna go ahead and show you what we need to set the pad up and how it works. Obviously the first thing we're gonna have to do is fill up the sleeping pad. So with the power of editing. All right, now that our pad's inflated, we'll go ahead and take a look at this strap system itself. So on the back here, there are 3 straps, 2 large ones in the each end and 1 small one in the middle. Now admittedly, because I'm new to quilts, I actually didn't really know how to attach my pad to my sleeping bag or my Top-quilt. So I decided to go to YouTube to look up some videos. A YouTuber looking at YouTube videos to figure out how to make his YouTube video. Is that kind of like a YouTube inception? Anyways, eventually I figured out that what I originally thought was that the Top-quilt went all the way around the quilt, and this is not always true. In a lot of cases, it actually goes underneath your body, between your body and the pad, which makes sense because it's not going to damage the material as quickly. So these 2 straps, the large ones, have an actual loop in them, and that's where the pad goes into. And then you have additional straps on the side here to kind of adjust how it lays on top. And then this middle strap actually goes on top of the pad instead of underneath it, and that's what actually keeps everything wrapped together, which then prevents you from getting any kind of drafts. So through the power of editing, once again, I'm going to go ahead and put the pad into the straps and show it upside down. So here we go, and there we have it. You'll notice there's only 2 straps around the pad, and this is obviously the pad from the underside. And if you flip it over, rather clumsily, now we have the system put together as it is. So you'll notice underneath here, you'll have the loop strap for the top there, and then you have the small strap there again holding everything together, and then further down is the 3rd strap. Around the top here, you'll notice that there is a U-shaped yoke for the collar. And now there is a drawstring here, and there is an additional snap at the back which you can snap together if it's a particularly cold night and it's very drafty. And then there's an additional drawstring just like you would have on a regular sleeping bag. Now, one thing you probably already noticed is, yes, this does not have a hood like a traditional sleeping bag. So for a lot of people, that's kind of a concern because obviously having something to put your head into is kind of nice. Now, they do make down hoods that you can buy individually to use. I personally have always just worn a cap over my head at night because I use a pillow, and the way that works out, my head's usually outside of the hood anyways, so it wasn't an issue. But as I've tried this thing out, and as you can probably tell from this shot here, generally speaking, as I'm laying there on my side or on my back, this U-shaped collar falls down and pretty much seals everything off on its own. So I don't anticipate using the back snap a whole lot, but it is there if I need it. Now that middle strap, as I said, holds everything together, and it does seal pretty amazingly well to the pad. As you can see, I'm holding it up sideways here. I don't know if you can tell or not, but it's still pretty much in contact all the way around with the pad. And as I said, I am a bit of a tosser and turner. I may have said I'm a bit of a tosser and turner. And so I was a little bit worried about that as well. So of course, one of the first things I did, because I am a gear dork, I set this thing up, I blew up my pad, I put it down on my living floor just like this, and I got in there and I just started twisting and turning like a fish. And I didn't feel any drafts, I didn't feel any, cold air. I actually turned my heating off so that the temperature in my apartment dropped quite a bit. I know I'd go to extremes, but I didn't notice anything. So it'd be interesting to see if that holds true actually out in the field as well. Because everything is a lot easier when it's in your living room and not when you're in the middle of nowhere in a tent in a cold temperature without a teddy bear nearby. I don't sleep with a teddy bear. So anyways, this is pretty much how it goes, and it works pretty well. So now I'm going to go ahead and hop into it and just kind of give you an idea of how it looks like it in use. Alright, so I took the Crocs off, I inflated my pillow, and now we're going to go ahead and show you how to get in and out. Obviously this may be a little bit trickier inside of a tent, which is going to take some getting used to, but as you can see, it's pretty loose, and it's generally pretty easy to slide into. Even with that narrow foot box, still pretty easy to get into, and I can still sit up fairly nicely, even though I'm inside the sleeping bag. Alright, so put the pillow in place, and go ahead and pull this up around. And as you can see, it's pretty snug. Definitely kind of, like I said, drapes down over my shoulders, stays with me pretty well. Flip over very easily. Lose the pillow. That's going to take some getting used to. But all in all, a pretty darn snug thing to sleep in. I'm excited. I think it's going to be great. I can't wait to try it out. Let me know what you think about quilts in the comments below. And as always, keep hiking on. Now, where's my teddy bear?